Did Lightning McQueen really retire? After the emotional end at the Florida 500 race, all eyes were on Cruz after she did the iconic Hudson flip for the win. Everyone was celebrating for the new rookie sensation and couldn't wait for her next race. But deep down, the big question was whether or not we were ever going to see her crew coach and 7-time Piston winner Lightning McQueen on the road again in a race. With a horrible season against new-gen racers like Jackson Storm and Mr. Sterling's horrible management, it looks like Monty's career as a road racer has come to a close. And even though he managed to beat Mr. Sterling's deal of forced retirement, it remains unclear whether or not we would see the blazing 95 on the track or as Cruz's permanent crew chief. Well, Pixar has done well providing tips across all spin-off shows and books. So in this video, we will reveal everything we know about the future of McQueen's career. Have we seen the last of Monty on the road, or are we going to hear that iconic chant one more time? To start off, I think it's important to point out McQueen's color switch between the last movie and Pixar's follow-up series, Cars on the Road.
Hitting the highway, a couple of friends with new adventures round every bend, whether racing fast or getting cold, forever together, cars on the road.
Because at the end of Cars 3, we see Cruz drive through Radiator Springs with the number 51 sticker donned on their side. While the Radiator Spring gang found her honor to be fabulous Hudson Hornet interesting, McQueen's new paint was even more striking. To honor his idol and former crew chief, Doc Hudson, he gave his car a new dark blue paint. But he also didn't forget his logos, design, and even his new nickname, Fabulous Lightning McQueen. In the credits of Cars 3, we see shots of McQueen in the role of Cruz's crew chief, with numerous trophy photos and celebrations, which indicate just how successful she has become. This is an obvious nod to McQueen's circular character development, and in one shot, we even see a comparison of both racer crew chief duos practicing at Willie's boot. However, just at the start of the spin-off, Cars on the Road, where Lightning McQueen and Mater embark on a road trip, it is the off-season and we see McQueen back in his bright red paint racing through Willie Boot's curve. Well, you could say he was racing at the speed that one might say involves getting himself in shape for the coming season. They haven't been very clear on why he is no longer with Cruz, or if he had even quit being her crew chief. But when they met at the wedding of Mater's sister, Mato, it's clear the two haven't seen each other for a while, which would be very strange if McQueen was still her crew chief. She points out a lot of changes on her path, like her new racing academy, her charity foundation, and that she was learning French. McQueen's paint change to Doc's blue finish is symbolic to the role of crew chief. Then it is only reasonable that returning back to the shining red paint that won him 7 Piston Cups indicates a return to the racetrack. In the companion book of Cars 3, there's a transcript of the interview after Cruz's win. The famous reporter Car Shannon Spokes asked McQueen whether or not he was going to retire, and to respond to that, he clearly states that he was enjoying his new role as crew chief. And to this response, Cruz points out how she hopes to be rivals with Lightning in the coming season. But what is even more interesting is that at the end of the On the Road series, he says to Cruz, "See you on the track," still as her crew chief or a fellow competitor. Well, going back to the color change theory, it is very likely that Cruz's and McQueen's next encounter might be as rivals. It is also important to note that on his own, Lightning McQueen never wanted to retire. Although he has been active for quite a while now, the whole retirement focus came through when it started becoming harder to keep up with the new-gen cars like Storm, who really enjoyed pointing out McQueen's weakness. He continuously pointed out how Monty's friends were dropping out and advised him to follow them. Plus, when he heard the news that Danako racer and son of Strip the King Weathers, Carl Weathers was retiring, he didn't react like it was something to be proud of. Like it couldn't be any harder than that for McQueen. Mr. Sterling increased the retirement pressure on him. After Rusty and Dusty Rustys put the Rustys Racing Company up for sale in order to build the Rustys Racing Center, a billionaire business car, Mr. Sterling, purchases the company. But soon it becomes clear that Mr. Sterling doesn't have the right intentions. He wants McQueen to retire and turn him into a frontman for merchandise sale. At first, McQueen was furious. He didn't want to retire. There was so much left in him. When Mr. Sterling leaves him no choice, he agrees to a deal with him. Either he wins the Florida 500 race, or he has to retire and do the merchandise. McQueen has never been interested in hanging his tires, just like Doc, because during a conversation with Sally at Radiator Springs, he says, "They told him when he was done, he didn't decide. I don't want to end up like Doc." Luckily, at the end of Cars 3, Tex, the billionaire owner of Dinoco, saved the day and bought Rustys off Sterling, which is a perfect opening for Lightning McQueen to continue his career with the help of new leadership. So considering all the hints that McQueen still wants to race, it is likely he won't retire anytime soon. Another thing hinting at this is when we listen to Sally and McQueen's conversation at the end of Cruz and her race. Because when Sally asks McQueen if he is done racing now, he gives an interesting answer. He tells her that he is gonna keep racing, but before that, he has to do something else. That is when we see him in his new blue paint, ready to be Cruz's crew chief. With his other hint, he won't retire anytime soon, it is safe to say that McQueen still has much left inside of him. I mean, we are talking about the same Lightning McQueen that finished a race with only 2 tires. The McQueen that battled 2 great racers, Weather and Chick Hicks. Although Hicks was not all that great of a sportsman, but you get what I'm saying. The same Lightning McQueen that would go over and beyond to save his friends and prove his loyalty to his group. Even after his insane crash in Cars 3, he lines his crew up and tells them he won't give up. No matter what, McQueen will do everything it takes to beat Storm, even though his antagonists, competitors, and fans might think his time is up on the circuit. I believe Pixar and the Cars franchise is at the perfect and most creative position with McQueen's career. And in all the possible plot twists to make the perfect Cars 4 movie, retiring the blazing red racer would make no sense in any of them. I'd really like to see Cruz on the race field with McQueen, although I'm not sure McQueen will ever win it from here. An in-depth plot rivalry between Cruz and McQueen would be a very spicy scene, just like he and Strip Weathers in the first movie. And even more interesting this time, we would get a follow-up on why their crew chief racer relationship was broken, if that really happened. This would certainly be a really intriguing one, bringing back a full circle to the theme of youthful arrogance versus seasoned experience. But I am curious how you feel about Lightning McQueen. Do you think he really retired? Would we be seeing Cruz back racing against McQueen in a new movie? Or is McQueen too old to beat the newest race cars out? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Ka-chow!